Gee, Steve, what are we going to do tonight?
Same thing we do every podcast. Tell them how we sees it.
It isn't a virus. It's a worm.
What's this one eat?
It nibbles. You see all of this? This is every financial transaction Ellingson conducts, yeah? From $1 million deals to the $10 that some guy pays for gas.
The worm eats a few cents from each transaction.
No one's caught it because the money isn't really gone. It's just data being shifted around.
And when the worm's ready, it zips out with the money and erases its track.
Joey got cut off before he got to that part. Check it out. By this point, it's already running at what? Twice the speed as when it started.
And at this rate, it ends its run in
2 days.
Judging by this segment alone, man, it's already eaten about
$21.8 million, man.
Whoever wrote this needs somebody to take the fall. And that's Freak, and that's Joey, and that's us. We gotta get the rest of this file so we can find out where the money's going before the worm disappears, so we can find out who created it.
I know who wrote it.
What?
This Ellingson security creep.
Why did he come to you?
I got a record. I was zero cool.
Zero cool. Crashed 1,507 systems in 1 day. Biggest crash in history. Front page New York Times, August 10th, 1988. I thought you was black, man. Yo, man, this is zero cool. Oh, shit.
That's far out.
This is zero cool, man. Oh.
Yo, that's great. There goes MIT.
I'll make it up.
Yeah? How?
I'll hack the Gibson.
Dude, they'll trace you like that, man. The cops are gonna find you. They're gonna find you with a smoking gun.
Fucked if I care, man.
Look, even if you had the password, it'll take you 10 minutes to get in, and you still gotta find the files, man. I mean, the cops will have you in 5 minutes.
Oh, wow, we are fried.
Never send a boy to do a woman's job. With me, we can do it in 7.
We both screwed. I hope we do it in 6.
Jesus, I gotta save all your asses. I help. We could do it in 5 minutes, man.
Okay, let's go shopping.
Boom! All right, here we go. It's How We Sees It, episode 302. This time we're going all the way back to 1995 for a small little movie that got released and didn't do too well in theaters, but then became a cult classic, and still to this day is. We're covering Hackers.
I was surprised to find out how little it made at the time.
Yeah,
It was like a $20 million budget and made 7.5 or something.
But you know, it really has no name actors at the time. I mean, really, the biggest name in the whole thing is Fisher Stevens.
I was going to say Fisher Stevens. And Lorraine Bracco, I think she was known for Goodfellas.
But wasn't that after?
Was it? No.
That's what I'm.
No way. No way. Goodfellas was... Shit. 1990. That was 5 years prior.
Okay, so maybe a little bit earlier, but yeah, those were the two biggest names in this. But some of these names that came out of this are huge names in a way. I mean, we got Angelina Jolie in one of her first major movies.
Yep.
Also, a nice nipple slip and a good boob shot on her. So, which is, you know,
checks your boxes.
It does.
Got two of them right there.
It's funny because there's so much about this movie that I remember and I love, and one of it is the scene where she comes in and opens her jacket and you get the quickest glimpse of her boob. I mean, you barely even see anything, but in my mind, it's way more of this like full open slow mo. like I've blown that up and slowed it down in my head, in my memory. You know, when I watch it, I was like, oh, that's not what I remember, but okay. But still, really just a great scene, and just what a lot of people remember about this movie is Angelina Jolie and what she did in this. Johnny Lee Miller is as the lead, who I don't really know him from anything.
Well, Train Spotting, that was a big one.
I'm pretty sure I saw Train Spotting. I know it's a huge movie, but I'm like, I don't remember if I really watched that, or, you know, but he's just not, I guess he's a British actor too. And so some people were bringing it up, and I didn't really put it all together. But yeah, his accent and some of the things are not the great. Like you can almost tell he's trying to do an American accent sometimes. It goes in and out a little bit. Not really like so bad that you're like, oh, what the hell? But when you know and you then look at it that way, you're like, oh, okay, I get it sometimes.
He had a short run with Angelina Jolie. They got married right after this movie for a year.
For like
a year.
4 years.
Oh, was it 4 years?
I think it's 4 years. I mean, that's pretty good. I mean, to
Yeah, you're right. 4 years. They're still friends too. So it didn't end as bad as it did with some of
apparently their
some
kids
of her
are
other
really
exes.
good friends.
Okay.
Yeah. But I mean, it's really cool that you hear a lot about this people meeting on the sets and becoming in not necessarily just engaged, but like in relationships and stuff, and some get married and some don't, but it just happens over and over and over. And I get it because they're working together tightly on some of these. In this one, I mean, they've got some scenes where, I mean, it gets kind of steamy, and they kind of make a connection, and they want to see where it goes, in real life. So
yep. Just like in Speed, what is it? High stakes relationships end in don't always make it. But there's a line that Sandra Bullock says at the end about relationships that are built off of adrenaline and a rush, and they never last. And
yeah, so I'd say those are our two main characters in Dade and Kate. And then you got the sidekicks in this one, which are a lot of fun. You got Joey, Jesse Bradford, who it was the youngest of the crew, the actual only teenager in the whole thing. He was 16 at the time, where everybody else was at 20 or older, which is funny because he's also the one that is chain smoking the entire time.
I know.
Like the only time he doesn't have a cigarette in his mouth is when he's in the shower, which I'm really surprised he didn't, because he found a way to listen to his headphones in the shower. That kid was doing everything he could to keep. He had 2 cigarettes going in his hands at one point. So
he shows some butt action too, but he was only 16. I wonder if that was
right?
like a stand-in butt, probably because
I don't know. I don't think it is, because it's you see him from the front as he rolls over and falls, and then the towel falls away. So yeah, I'm wondering how they got away with all that, because he was the youngest. But anyways, one of my absolute favorite people in this movie. And just in general, everything he's done is Matthew Lillard as serial killer. The guy is hilarious in this. He is one of the most memorable, outstanding. Just you got to watch him every time he's on screen, because even when he's not talking, he's acting. He's acting his ass off.
Yeah, he's got a character. He was really big in Scream and some of the Scream movies. In fact,
Shaggy.
That's true. He was Shaggy. I remember when we moved up here, it was kind of a big deal because they filmed Scream at the, in this area. In fact, the video store that we used to go to all the time was featured in that movie, and I think he's got a scene in there. So I always felt a kinship there. He's in actually
a movie you've been pushing for us to see.
Right.
We might see next month in Life of Chuck.
He just has a small clip, but it's. So it's a small scene, but that's another reason for us to check it out. It's not horror, but it's horror adjacent with Stephen King, and so maybe we can watch that.
But yeah, he's so good in this. Then you got the other two that round out the hackers. Lawrence Manson is Nikon, which I loved him in this. He just makes me laugh. There's something about especially his intro, just it's so great. And then you got the Phantom Freak in. Reniel Santiago, and those guys round out the 6 main hackers in this movie. We'll get into more of it. We already talked about 2 other players, probably the most notable players in there. There's one other we'll talk about. But before we talk about all those, what we got to talk about is our cocktails for this episode. Because that's what we do here on How We Seeez, is we make a drink or a cocktail that we pair up right to this movie. And I know... Again, I went right down to the wire trying to figure out what the heck I was going to do. And then when I figured it out, I'm like, I love this. I love this drink. I don't know if I'm going to love the drink, but I love the idea of the drink. So we'll see. And I'm going to go first, and then I'll let Steve bring this up after. So once again, I talked about Matthew Lillard's character, Serial. killer is, they just call him cereal most of the time, but when they introduce him, he's like, yeah, this is serial killer, like Fruit Loops. And I was just like, it made me laugh. And I was going through different drinks and I was like, what can I do with a serial killer drink? How can I make this? And so I pulled up cereal drinks, and one of the things that came up was a couple different iterations of White Russians using like Cocoa Puffs and some Cinnamon Toast Crunch and stuff like that, and using cereal milk. And I've done that once before, and I was like, well, that's kind of cool. And I went, but what can I do to make a fruity White Russian? How can I make a White Russian fruity? And I was like, well, I'm going to take the coffee out of there because I don't know if that would go really well, coffee and fruit. And I just happened to stop by the local Total Wine and More, and was walking past, and I saw this rum chata that was pineapple cream. And right away I was like, boom, okay, I'm on it. That's going to be my creamer. Now I just got to find a base that's fruity, that will also have a good kick to it, that will give me a nice drink that's easy to drink, but also got, has some back to it. And so I came to my bar and I pulled out anything that had fruit flavored. And I just started looking at what I had and what I wanted to throw in this. So I came up with 1 ounce of a dark cherry vanilla whiskey from Scatterbrain, which is one of my favorites to do like a whiskey sour with. So I was like, that's got to work good. I got to give that one a shot. That's going to be good. It's nice, smooth, kind of sweet, but it has that good cherry flavor to it. Threw a orange whiskey on there. That's a Jim Beam orange whiskey. I know I do a lot of stuff with the honey whiskey and the vanilla. So I had the orange, and I thought this would be a good kick to that one. So, and then I did 1 ounce of a raspberry vodka, which I know has a very strong raspberry flavor in the one I think it's a Smirnoff. So I was like, okay, I got 3 good fruit elements in that. 2 ounces of the pineapple cream rum chata to get my base for my all that. And then I garnished it with one of my dehydrated limes, just because, they say that there's a lime flavor in that rum, in the Fruit Loops. So that is my cereal killer, is what I'm calling it. And it's basically a fruity White Russian variant. And I'm going to see what it tastes like here.
All right, here we go.
That's actually really good. I talked about cereal milk before, right? Having done a cocktail with it. This almost has a little bit of that feel to it, where it's like, it's that milky flavor a little bit with that sweet cereal flavor, but it's still got that alcohol kick behind it a little bit. You can almost taste it a little bit. It's watered down a little bit because it's sitting here, so that might have helped it a lot too. But yeah, it's not bad.
You've already got a white mustache, so I can't tell if it's if the milk is sticking to your mustache.
That's actually that's just my mustache. Yeah. It's a very blondish gray mustache. So.
Yeah, so it matches. So no telling whether or not that stuff's sticking or not.
It's actually really good. Like, this is. I always
remember that scene in Big Lebowski when the dude's drinking his White Russian while his landlord's asking for the rent, and he takes a sip and he's got this white mustache and he just kind of scoops it off, with his lower lip, just alrighty, man, Okay, sorry.
Yeah, the pineapple cream in this really brings it out, and it's got a little bit of a texture to it, so it gets a little bit of that it's almost like a cereal milk with some vodka in it, or a little bit of alcohol in it. It's actually really, really. I was afraid it was going to be too sweet.
Okay.
And and I kind of thought about throwing a little bit of lemon juice in it, but then I was afraid that might make it a little bit off, especially, and it might even curdle the rum chata, because I know sometimes those don't always work together. But yeah, this surprisingly is better than I was expecting. So
very good.
That's my cereal killer.
All right. Well, my drink was named after something that was brought up by a few people. A few different people, but I got such a kick out of this, being in internet security at work, and so I saw this when it came out in the theaters, and this was 1995, so that's right when that was the same year Windows 95 came out. I don't know if you knew that, but that's kind of a big deal.
95 makes sense.
But I wasn't in the business. I didn't do this stuff until about the turn of the century. About 2000 is when I started doing network and internet stuff, and so when I heard the most common passwords were sex, God, love, and secret, I just thought how funny that was. That was the case. I mean, that you could even have a 3-letter password.
Apparently, you could at one time.
Sure, yeah. This was back in the day when it was like, boy, you're putting a password on that, then you're really playing it safe or something. I don't know, but it's reiterated a couple times, and there's that one time when the plague.
Joey? Oh, the plague
says it, and he's reiterating it after Zero Cool, I think, talks about it. But it's God, sex, love, and secret. And I thought, well, that'd be an interesting cocktail. Let me call it that, and I'll see if I can assemble the ingredients accordingly. So I decided to try to pick out an ingredient for each one of those things. So for God, I looked for sometimes I associate it after I found it, but I went to my Punta Mas. Punta Mas is an Amaro / vermouth. It's kind of a mix. Rather than getting an Amaro and a vermouth, you get a Amaro vermouth together at Punta Mas. So it's a bittersweet. It's what it is. And
okay.
It's this bittersweet, commanding base. This is the base of my cocktail. So that's my God. Just like Plague, who kind of sets him up like a self-styled god in cyberspace. I thought that was kind of a nice association
100%.
there. So we got God as Punta Mas, 1.5 ounces of that. Sex. Well, sex is obviously going to be serial killer. He's got that playful, smooth, little naughty side to him. And this is a banana liqueur that I went for there because
there you go.
Who doesn't think of banana when they think of sex? And it kind of oozes, So anyway, and then for love, that I leaned into Acid Burn, Angelina Jolie's character, and I went with a deep red and sweet drink, a ruby port. A ruby port. It's the heart that kind of holds things together. So that's my love, is a ruby port. And then for secret, I went with a dedicated Amaro. This is Amaro Nonino. It's a herbal layered liqueur. It kind of reminded me of a little bit of Zero Cool. He's got kind of that mysterious style, and I thought that equated to secret. So those are my four bases. 4 ingredients: 1.5 ounces Punta Mas, 1/4 ounce of the banana liqueur, 1/2 ounce ruby port, 1/2 ounce of the Amaro Nonino. Added a dash of Angostura bitters just to get a little kick, and then mix that up. But then I had to top it off with something to make it a little bit more lean into the movie, and so. You got to put your Jolt Cola in there to kind of give it a nice kick. Which Jolt, I don't know if you remember the name, the slogan: all the sugar, twice the caffeine.
Twice the caffeine. Yep.
Which apparently went out of business in 2001. I guess, but this year. It's back.
Oh, no way.
It is
back.
Are
you kidding me?
Yep. Now, the closest you can find it is in Fresno. So I had to do a little bit of a hack in order to make it work with my cocktail. So that's why I'm having to wait on sending you my picture. But
gotcha.
But for all intents and purposes, and for the sake of this cocktail and this podcast, I have spiked this drink with some Jolt Cola, and I'm enjoying it very much. So there you go. There's my God, sex, love, and secret.
That's hilarious. I literally was going to do something with Jolt, but I knew it had gone out of business. I'm like, how can I do?
No, it's back.
I started well, you know why it went out of business is there was lawsuits about people talking about the caffeine levels and stuff like that. It's like with all the energy drinks that are out now, and like how did you guys not learn anything from Jolt? But apparently, they can bring it back now because energy drinks are all the hit.
Sure, and it's not the same. Ingredients. It's kind of a take on it, but it's branding itself as the new Jolt energy drink. So we'll see. But.
I like energy drinks. I know they're not good for you, but and I've done quite a few cocktails with them, just because there's some that I just really enjoy the flavor. There's a couple out right now. It's the Ghost brand and C4 that. They just right up my alley with the fruit flavors, and the some of them are candy flavored, like Skittles and Jolly Ranchers, and I'm like, you guys are just killing me with this stuff. So, but I do enjoy them. I try and limit myself to at least no more than one a day. It's usually more like 1-2 a week kind of thing usually. Okay. So.
Well, I do my coffee. That's my Americano in the morning is my jolt of energy. That's good enough for me.
I started to do so I got a mushroom coffee.
All right.
And so I started to drink those, and I'm about every other day with it. But it's really it's not about the coffee. I don't even know if it has a lot of caffeine, but I'm just trying to do that mushroom thing. You know, we did that. We had the sponsor the one time with the Magic Mind, so it got me looking into some other things, and I'm really trying to do that. And I think it works for me. So if you're ever curious, yeah, try mushrooms out. They kind of do work. All right, talk about working. Let's get back to this movie.
All right.
Hackers from 1995. Like I said, this only made, it was a $20 million movie that only made $7 million back at the box office.
I know.
Which
surprised me after all this time. I remember seeing it in the theater. I don't remember it being a huge hit, but I didn't know it was such a big flop. Although you're right, cult classic or cult status
100%,
now. I mean,
yeah,
it's really stuck around in interesting ways because it is not one that necessarily represents very effective technical. It doesn't.
Well, I do have some notes on that. So there is no CGI in this movie at all.
I know.
And that to me was so surprising when I learned that, because it has one of the coolest scenes to me in the very beginning where it's flying over New York City and it just transfers into being over like a PC board and all the data. You know, it does a really good job. This took on a task that is, I don't know, has ever been done really, really good. In the fact that how do you show someone being a hacker? Like it is the most boring thing to, if you actually filmed what's going on. Yeah. But they put visuals to it that make sense. And so I thought that was really cool. And
I know what you mean, because I really liked the movie Live Free or Die Hard, the Die Hard movie that was much more about hacking. And it played it straight. You know, it kind of gave you, it's leaned into the action, but I loved the tech in that. But think of a movie like Tron, which was, certainly trying to put on a show with their technology and take you into the computer. So that's a movie that I think kind of found an interesting way of showing, I don't know, not necessarily hacking. Well, there was some hacking going on, but showing things. And of course, we've already covered the classic Broderick movie, War Games.
Right. Yeah, no, 100%. Well, I mean, it's like you think about movies that tackled this in a way that really are hits. One of them would be The Matrix, right? It has some hacking style things, but it also does it in a very visual way, which also is very it's almost fantastical. It's not a real world. It's not something this has tried to tackle this from almost like a real world type thing. And I don't know about you, if you've ever got into, I mean, cyberpunk is a genre of books and role-playing games that really deal with they have hardcore hackers, and when you read the books and they describe what it is, this is what the movie describes that happens in this cyberpunk. And there's also a fantasy world called Shadowrun, which has, it's kind of a magic and machine kind of combination, and they also have hackers. And the same thing, when they log in, they jack in, and they're literally, their brain is running around the internet just like they show in this. And it, to me, having read a lot of that and been a part of that and played those games and just loved that world and that idea of it, to see that the way they did it to me was just so cool.
The movies I wrote down, past movies that reminded me of the whole cyberpunk, the way they kind of represented some of the characters. I wrote down Clockwork Orange and Blade Runner. Blade Runner, the replicants, the way they kind of banded together, it felt almost like a cyberpunk gang. And then Clockwork Orange, I don't know if you've ever seen that. It's a disturbing movie, but they have this gang that's built off of these kind of, it's not cyber, but it's a certain punk style that was, I think, inspired some of the cyberpunk movement. That's early 70s. Stanley Kubrick, again, based off a pretty horrific premise, but I appreciate, they really leaned into the style almost I think sometimes a little too comically, or maybe they didn't treat it with enough respect, because it got some of the characters were a little one-dimensional, especially the baddies.
Yeah.
But I did like how they almost played it up to 11. They pushed it to make it almost seem silly, and it almost felt on purpose.
They did, yeah. They also really leaned into the punk side of the cyberpunk genre a little bit, like with the dress and like. I'm sorry, but I've been around a lot of different people, punks, skaters, and things like that, and just I've never seen anybody in my life dress the way some of these guys did on a everyday basis. I'm sorry, but Zero Cool really describes him because he has no cool. He is not cool at all. His clothes choices are tragic.
I would, being at a junior college environment, I see a lot of.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of it's very straight laced, but then you get your occasional eccentric that goes overboard with their dress. So
that's what I meant. There are people that this to me was just too much, like too many overboard. Like they all were a little too dipped into the overboard. Like if they would have just had like Serial was off the fucking charts with his clothes. He looked like a punk to me 100%. He looks like he went into a Goodwill and just started grabbing shit and putting it together and made it work. But then you got guys like Dade, who he just didn't fit the look. I don't know. There was something about him that just wasn't right.
Which one was he? Just Dade. Dade
is that's Zero Cool. Crash
Override. Sure.
Crash Override. Yeah. He just there's something about him that just didn't work for me. And then I mean, you got Angelina Jolie as Kate and some of her dress. Now, granted, they were playing her up a lot of the bralettes, and a lot of her tight shirts and things like that. But there's one where she's wearing like freaking like hockey, like or not roller hockey, but like more like field hockey shin pad things, and it's like, what the fuck? I mean, it just I get what they were doing. They were going for a look, and to me, I think that takes some of the people out of it a little bit. But that's my only downside to the movie, really. Everything else I freaking loved.
I agree with what you're saying, but I don't think it's I see that. I see some, that even today, people dressing kind of in ways that make them stand out in unusual ways, almost like notice me or.
It wasn't even that. It was the choices that they made, like Dade with his crop tops and like the little
and then
freaking.
He had that belt that kind of went across and then around strapped around his leg, or those wings he was wearing kind of at the end when he went on a date.
That's what I mean. I know it's weird. Like that's why I said Serial looks I think like Matthew Lillard might actually be a real punk, and like he just went and got his own wardrobe. Like he looked like he knew what he was doing.
He was kind of consistent with his look too. It felt like it was something that who he was. Which, granted, I think his character as well as the Phantom Freak both kind of had very feminine qualities that they were leaning into, almost very much like kind of the transgender.
Almost like almost a non-gender,
non-binary. Is that
whatever goes kind of thing? Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah. Which almost seems ahead of its time, if you ask me. I was like, oh, interesting but that's part. I think that's part of the cyberpunk movement, was just kind of this gender.
They nail where they're at realistically at the house party, because they dropped the best one-liner in the whole movie.
What's that?
Look at that pooper. I mean, he said, just look at that pooper. Spandex is a Serial says it,
but they never showed the reverse of who they were looking at.
That's a good point.
They didn't. I noticed that
but they did say spandex is a right, is a privilege, not a right. Yeah, and I mean that's a good point. Not a lot, but not a lot of guys would wear spandex.
No, I'm just saying that's.
But I know what you're saying. I never even thought of that. I never went through that line. I just thought it was just because I listened to several different podcasts this time, and the range of love it, hate it was so fabulous. because it literally was there wasn't a lot of down the middle, like, oh, it was okay, but whatever, I liked it, but I didn't like it. Was a lot of I hated this movie, or I loved this movie.
Okay. I'm down the middle. There's things I didn't care for it, but I appreciated it and had fun with a lot of it. So
well, okay, so I would put you on the love it side. If this
okay.
is, I mean, the hate movies were like, there was one guy, and I almost was just like, I can't take this guy anymore, because it was literally everything was just, it was the worst thing ever. I feel like I lost time in my life. I lost and it's like, dude, it's not that bad. I mean, this is someone described it as
listening to those sort of reviews are wasting your own time. That's the time you never get back.
But I found a new podcast that I'm like, this might be my next go-to movie podcast. It's called Bad Movies Rule. I had so much fun listening to them. Like, literally, it was like a bunch of, it was kind of like us, just having fun, but they're just having a blast with everything they did. And some of them loved it, some of them didn't, but the banter back and forth and the joking and it was a lot of fun. So if you ever want to go listen to a decent podcast that has a lot of fun with movies, and especially they pick movies, Bad Movies Rule, and that literally what it was is this, and they brought it into my mind that this could be one of those movies that's so bad that it's good.
Well, what's the show that something 3000 Mystery Theater 3000, where they would just kind of heckle movies, heckle old movies, and that was kind of the idea is that you embrace what's in front of you and enjoy the moment by heckling it with your friends, and
right, exactly. Well, and that's I could see this being a fun one to watch with friends, just because there is a lot of just banter back and forth, and the group that is together, you can feel the friendship in them, I think. I thought I was real. Yeah. Go ahead.
Well, some of the introductions of these characters, like Dade Murphy, when he meets Acid Burn, or what's.
Oh,
Kate, where he's just like, what? I even wrote it down. This wasn't the first thing that was said. It was when they met in the arcade. He says, "That's a nice score for a girl."
Yeah.
I'm like, what the hell?
Well, so you got to remember, this guy came from Seattle, right? He was a convicted child who wasn't allowed to be on the phone. So, he never got to talk to girls on the phone. He wasn't allowed to be in the chat rooms, which, you had to be elite to even be in the chat rooms. But, I think he's an awkward, he even says it, he doesn't play well with others. So he's an awkward boy. He doesn't really know how to talk to the girl. And it shows in this. And I think I don't know if that's what they were going for originally, but it came out that way.
It came out awkward, and you're right. I don't know if they tried to cast someone who could rise above the awkward lines and just kind of turn it into something that sounded a little cool. Because sometimes you can cast someone and they can say a line like that, and you're like, oh yeah, you really lean into their character. But it's almost more realistic to kind of. Someone trying to lean into that cool role, and they say something like that, thinking it's gonna come across as cool, and yet it comes across as some of the lamest stuff. And
I don't believe he was he's good for this role, but I also don't believe he's not a likable character like Serial is, like Nikon is, like Freak is, even Joey. Joey is that kind of lovable little kid that you want to pull along with you, and you're like, and I love the fact that really when it comes down to the end, Joey's the one that really pulls it off in the end. It's not Dade who wins it, it's not Kate who wins it, it's Joey who's kicking ass on the Gibson, right? And he's put it to the plague.
Although isn't it Dade that feeds him the lines, like he's like / period.
Oh, he gives him the spot, but it's even before that. It's when they're all getting kicked out, and it's Nikon. He goes, "Oh man, Joey's tearing it up,"
and he's also the one that discovers the garbage file in the first place.
Which is funny because it's like they're acting like it's an active thing to launch these viruses, like they have to physically move them around and do this stuff. I'm like, you hit go. and you walk away, which is, I mean, but they had to make it. How do you make hacking exciting?
I know. There was a couple flashes of actual code that got me kind of excited. It's like, oh my god, I see some IP addresses. It's like, oh, that is actually a command line. They're doing a little Linux code there, or something like that. And there was a couple things that I could like, oh, there, and then they go back to the to the Cookie Monster, and
well, that apparently is an actual virus that was out there.
Yes, but you actually see the Cookie Monster like eating things.
That's the visual.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, but
they take the visuals almost to an extreme. The funny keyboard that the plague's using.
Oh my god! Looked like he was trying to do music or something. Well, I mean, that's the ridiculous side of it, but that's also what makes it exciting in a way.
Yeah.
If they would have just, I mean, when we first see the first hacker battle, right, between Acid Burn and Override, what was his Crash Override, where they're battling over the tape at the TV studio, like, no. First off, like, that's not, even if you had joysticks and you were sitting there trying to control those little arms, it wouldn't be going back and forth the way it was. But and this is one of the things I think they might have. I don't know if they had two different editors or something changed in the middle of this. There's a part in the beginning of this movie, and it's right up to about that time where Dade and a lot of the stuff he's doing, even when he first sees Kate and stuff like that, he has these flashbacks, and then that battle they have like these flashbacks from movies and games and little things like that, that are going off to kind of show the stuff, and then it stops. And I was like, man, they should have kept that up through the whole thing. I thought it was so cool in the beginning, but then it just stops. I think it stops after he wants to get his revenge, and after the whole pool on the roof thing, and he shows an old movie of a guy choking a woman, because he wants to choke Kate. But then it stops, and you never see it again. And I was like, oh, that was such a bad decision to not continue that kind of theme throughout the rest of the movie. Where they were doing
the editing
stuff,
style kind of interview. Yeah,
it was a great but it just went. It was great, and then all of a sudden it went away, and it was in like the first third of the movie, which was, interesting that it died that way. Fisher Stevens is the Plague or Eugene. Very interesting character. Very people love to hate him in this. Like he's a great villain because everybody's like, what a fucking tool, this greasy motherfucker, this pinhead Q-tip looking motherfucker. It looks like he's got no neck. And it's funny, there's a scene in this movie that people were like, this is the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen, or this is like one of the coolest things, and it's when he's on his skateboard being pulled by the limo, and he snatches the disc out of his hand and then goes back to, I guess they call it a skitch. I didn't remember having a name for it when I was a kid and we were skateboarding. We'd grab onto the back. We used to do it to the back of the ice cream truck in our neighborhood all the time.
Okay.
And I didn't know it had a name, but they did it in Back to the Future. He grabbed onto the back of the car. But people were just like, it's either the most ridiculous thing they've ever seen, or it was like the coolest thing. And I was like, I thought it was kind of cool personally.
I thought I read that apparently before the shooting, they got all together early to kind of get their characters, to get a rapport going, but then also to do lessons,
to learn to rollerblade.
Learn to rollerblade and learn to type, which that was hilarious. And so they probably gave Fisher Stevens some skateboarding lessons. But I did find that every time you saw Dade on his rollerblades or Fisher Stevens on his skateboard, it almost seemed like, oh, they've been doing this for maybe a few weeks. You could tell they didn't look like they felt that comfortable in their blades or on the skateboard. So
watching them rollerblade
that made it more amusing. And so that's why I could see people kind of either being amused to the point of loving it or being,
well, I thought it was funny that
at how poorly they can roll.
95 was a big thing with rollerblades like that. Rollerblade brand probably paid them a lot of money in this movie to get them to use them, but it was almost like they also posed them against each other because the bad guy was on a skateboard. And the good guys were rollerblading. Which I also the skateboard that Plague, he rolls in. I think it's to the command center and he pops it up. It's a Mike McGill skateboard. I know that skateboard. I know exactly what that is. Or maybe it's a Skull and Bones. I think it's a Mike McGill, but it might be a Skull and Bones. But it's a Pal Peralta, skateboard. It's just that's a standard skateboard. And I remember listening to some other people, and they're like, "Oh, he was on a longboard." And I'm like, "Shut the fuck up! You don't know what the hell you're talking about. Don't say shit unless you know what you're talking about on a skateboard." And then another one was like, "Oh yeah, he's on one of those big old fat pointy ones." And I was like, "Did they start doing the little skinny popsicle boards?" I was like, "Because that's the kind of board I had when I was young." So I was just kind of not the exact brand, but the style. But yeah, I thought it was funny. And yes, he was not a skateboarder. You could tell by the way he kicks it up into his hand and then throws it away. I was like, why would you would just push it over there with your foot. You wouldn't even bother kicking it up.
I'm wondering if, as far as direction for the Plague and for Margot, they were like kind of given instruction to kind of play up the kind of the comic book esque, almost like the comic page, just take it to a silly degree. They almost came across as, I wouldn't say bumbling idiots, but there wasn't much going on. It was just this wah ha 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 ha, and I wonder if that was actually intentional, because some of this stuff was just a little silly. The way they were the evil villains, and how they played their characters.
Well, I think you're right on Margot. I think she was given the idea to play the kind of like the dummy, the like either that, or they said, I want you to you know what's going on, but you're playing the dummy, so when something goes wrong, you can play like you didn't know. Because there's like when they go into that board meeting, like it looks like it's like, okay, I'm gonna say this and you bring this up, and I'm gonna say this and you bring this up, and then but then when they're in the big hack fight, between the two sides, she's in there just repeating words: rabbit, flu shot, cancer, brain cancer. What You're like, oh my god, you are well. You can tell she's not very smart because she's sleeping with that fucker. Which right off the top, you're like, okay. But no, it's. I think it's done really good. I think Plague or Eugene is the perfect example of the bad adult that he thinks he's cool, he thinks he's young, he thinks he's better. He plays that perfectly.
Well, it's like Laugh Olympics. He's the evil guy. Remember Laugh Olympics, where it's the Hanna-Barbera, I think, or something like that. Yeah,
it's Schneidly.
And then the dog Smeagol. Muttley. And Muttley's sorry. But Margot's Muttley, and
right. It's Dan Dastardly, I think, is the guy.
Okay. I don't remember it. I just remember Laugh Olympics. They were part of that. I think they were in other things too. I think that was.
Yeah, well, they did the car race one, and he was always in it in like a purple car, and I think it was Dan Dastardly and Muttley. But yeah, he definitely plays the villain thing to the T. We also we haven't talked to him about him yet, but Wendell Price is in this as Agent Dick Gill, right? He's the FBI Secret Service agent who's the major guy who's running around busting all these hackers because of Eugene told him so. We've just seen him recently in some major stuff because he was in the Superman 2025 as Perry White.
That's true. Yeah.
He was in the Thunderbolts as Congressman Gary. So it was funny because when I saw him again, I was like, oh shit, I know that guy. And I was like, where do I know him? And I went and looked it up. Well, that's why, because he's been in these recent movies that I've seen.
Yeah. He looked he looked older in this movie, because I was surprised. It's like he's not that old. He's only, looking it up, he's only 62, which means he was 32 in this movie. Which
he looked older in this movie for sure.
He looked older than that, but he's. Well, I guess I was going to say he's aged well, but if he already looked old at that time, then maybe he's kind of caught up with his
he hit his peak and just stayed there.
Yeah,
another
yeah, he got shit on with a lot, and that was where they directed all their hacks towards.
When they put him down as deceased, He's like, I'm what? That was hilarious. There's also Mark Anthony who plays one of the agents, which is kind of funny. He's just in the background a lot. And then Penn Jillette as Hal.
I know. That was
Just
funny.
out of the blue, kind of funny. Has one of the great lines too when he first calls up Mr. It's Eugene. What's his something starts with a B.
Belford.
Belford. He's like, Mr. Belford, and he's like, call me the plague. Mr. the Plague. And I was like, oh, that's so fucking good. But yeah, it's just there's some great scenes and there's some great dialogue. A lot of little, interesting quotes and stuff like that. Just it to me is this is a good movie or a bad movie that's good. It's a fun one to rewatch.
I like the style. I like the characters. I wish the technology was a bit more. I should say, I wish the hacks were a bit more elevated to where they can continue to kind of put these kind of the rotoscoping, the way they were kind of playing with some of the images and stuff like that in front of on top of things, but have some legitimate things going on that they're representing. I felt like they kind of kept going back to the old the old reliables, the phone, the way, let's do the dial of the phone, which we're already very familiar with war games and stuff. So it didn't seem like it didn't seem like any of the hacks covered new territory, and I wish they had some more of that. I love the way they stylistically represented it, but I think if you take the style away, it just was very dull hacks, and there's a lot more they could have tapped into to give it a little bit more to it.
That was a little bit realistic in the fact that, I mean, when you talk about what they started off with Dade in the crash of the 1507 computers all at once and all this, that was an actual thing that happened from a young kid who put a virus out there that did that. The phone freak thing is a legit thing that people were doing with the tones. The Cookie Monster, the rabbit, and all those were actual real hacks and viruses that were out there. The worm, right now, this is people were talking about this. They stole that straight from Superman 3. It's the same thing, where it nibbles on a little bit, and then they redid it again in Office Space a couple years later. But that's apparently an actual real thing. It's a potential to be out there that they've busted people with and stuff. So I think they were trying to be a little bit realistic with the actual hacking that was going on, but the visuals are real non-existent. Like this is if you had to write a book and explain what it would look like in a real world situation, or like I said, if you were doing something like a Cyberpunk or a Shadowrun, and how would you describe this if it was you could run around the internet, and I think that's what they did a little bit. And I thought to me, because I enjoy that world, and I mean Shadowrun was one of my favorite fantasy genres and worlds, and the hacking part of it was so cool in that aspect. And that's literally what they did. You kind of like the Matrix, where you plug your brain in and all of a sudden you're a body in the internet, and to me, it was really cool the way they did it. But I like the fact that they brought some real world aspects of what hackers had been doing. Apparently you talked about the actors getting together 3 weeks prior to all hang out and become good friends and learn to rollerblade together, which they probably should have spent more time rollerblading. Typing, I'm not going to say anything about typing because I'm still a two-finger typer. I mean, I'm up to 2 fingers on both hands, so I'm a 4-finger typer, but
nice.
I'll throw a pinky in there every once in a while. But just, they went to a hacker convention, an actual hacker convention, and apparently it was just a bunch of guys in suits hanging around, like well-dressed guys, like very business attire type people, and they're like, well, this isn't going to help us at all. And so apparently they went to like a punk rock and kind of, and this is maybe where some of the personalities come. I guess they hung out with a lot of the I don't know what's the proper way to say it, but the the gay community in New York at the time in 95. You know, they got some of their dress and the punk rock dress and some of that from them, which I thought was interesting. It's like, I can see where it does look like that, and it's not a over the top like, hey, yeah, this is this, but it's not over the top like, hey, it's not. You know what I mean? It's like, you know, it's choose your own adventure in a way. It's like you could choose how you feel like they go. So I thought it worked out really well with that. Like it's not like a force it into your face. It's more like choose your choice of how you want to view this, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I do agree. Sorry, I had to mute myself. My dog is barking at something.
No, that's all right.
You're
I'm
right.
sure he had an opinion.
That's right. Get those gays out from our front yard. You go away. No. So
that should have come from me.
I know. So you're saying that the actors probably were able to lean into their characters how they saw fit based on some of this stuff?
Potentially, yeah. And I also think the viewer, because there's nothing in there that's hard coded that's like, this person is this way. You get to choose your own adventure in that aspect where you read them how you want, and they can like you could read Serial as like he could be, you know, in the middle, one side or the other, or both sides, or wherever you want. Same thing with Freak. You know, it's pretty evident that Angelina Jolie, Kate, and the Johnny Lee Miller, sorry, is Dade, and you know they're trying to get in each other's pants essentially. You know, God,
I know some of those dreams.
The dream sequences are great. I mean, Angelina Jolie, like her dream is what her dream is, and that, you know, that's fine. It's a good one. But her look when she wakes up is so much better than because he wakes up and he's like, oh shit, what the hell? She wakes up and is like, oh yeah, that's what I'm talking about. You know, and you're like, oh, okay.
And it's hilarious for us as the audience because we're seeing it, we're thinking it's his dream sequence, and then suddenly she's the one that wakes up. It's like, oh.
Yeah, so good. It's such an enjoyable movie. To me, this is so rewatchable. Like I said, I watched this on Sunday night with my wife. After I bought this on Amazon because it was $4.99 for the 4K version. I was like, hell yeah! And I just got a big ass new TV, so I was like, yeah, I want to see. Oh my god, the scene where she's wearing the see-through shirt on a big TV, fuck, so good. So good.
Nice.
But anyways, so I watched it Sunday. I was at working, and I threw it on my phone and just had it playing. Like instead of listening to an audiobook or whatever or a podcast, I just had it sitting on my bench playing. I wasn't necessarily staring at it, but I'm listening to it, and I would look up every once in a while, see the scenes and stuff, and just was super enjoying it. It has it's like it's the music in this, the audio music cues in this get you going too. Like there's some times where it's like they're starting to get ready for their big hack, and you know, and they're doing their montage to getting their serial numbers and their passcodes and all that. You're like, oh shit, oh man, they're getting ready to do this, and the music is just getting you pumped. I was like, oh, this is. It had me bebopping around at work. It was kind of cool.
I'm gonna pause things for just a second.
Sure.
Sometimes she just gets on a barking kick, and it's like you need to find the off switch or something. It's not like whatever it was.
Barks at her own barking. What the hell was that? What the hell was that?
Yeah. So I get up and check on her, and she's like, "What? I'm not doing anything." All right. All right, this is all for our audience too. They're hearing this dialogue, so we're back.
So real quickly, I always bring up IMDb when we're doing this, just so I can quickly get into the actors and stuff. Occasionally, I'll go in and look at the pictures that are from the movies and stuff. This is one that like it's just cool to go look at all the different like how cool are the scenes from this, like just all the stuff in the back. This is just a really fantastic well designed movie if you look at all the stuff that they did. You know, it's.
I've gone to the page now, so I'm looking at the 233 photos. Damn, that's a lot.
Yeah, there's a lot of them, and just they're very interesting. And just like the very first one they show is a kind of a close up of the group together. I think it's when they're trying to figure out what's going on with the disc, and it's a cool image, but it's got like Cyril's got a toothbrush hanging out of his mouth, and they're all just kind of there's something about it. It's just a cool kind of show. But what I really noticed in this when I was looking is they got some close-ups of Angelina Jolie, and I can see why she became a star. Like, she has such a beautiful face.
Oh yeah, she's got very striking features, and they're beautiful.
Yes.
Yeah, she's got the big eyes and the big lips, and she comes across very very sensual in her.
And my wife hates it because I love that pixie cut, that short haired, and she just doesn't look good with that short hair. She's tried it a couple times and just like, you know, she does it for me. She doesn't like it, but she tries it for me, and she looks so good. What do they call it? The manic pixie manic pixie dream girl, right? Which is that short hair kind of punker girl. She just rocks that look so well in this movie. I can see why Dade would fall for her, 100%.
Yeah, what's the rule that about women characters about if they contribute to the
Bechdel test?
The Bechdel test. Does this pass the Bechdel test? I mean, it's pretty extreme with some of its female characters. They're either
it does not pack.
Yeah.
Well, the Bechdel test, you have to have two female characters that talk to each other, that their conversation doesn't involve a male character, or there's something else about it.
Yeah.
There's other female characters in here, but they never talk to each other. Right? There's the two main ones are Angelina Jolie and what's her bucket? Margot.
Yeah.
They never even in the same scene together, right? The only time I think there's two females in the same scene is when
she gets thrown in prison, and the other, but they don't actually talk.
oh yeah, there's the cops that are walking her in there. No, it's when
it's when Angelina Jolie shows up at his house, right? And
yeah, and the mom goes, "Now I understand what all the fuss was about," and she's like, "Yep, I see what you're doing to him." I also love that. I love that because Serial, they come in and they go, it's like, "We need your help." And he's like, "I can't help you." And Cyril's like, "Oh, fuck this. I'm going to the bathroom." Right. And you're like, "What?" Okay. He walks off. He also has this huge fucking backpack on that he like slams into the door. And I'm like, yeah, that just seems so realistic.
I'm looking at one of the screenshots that looks like a Matrix series of letters and stuff like that. And funny enough, this, which I remember seeing in the movie, is much more like a true packet capture you can get if you're doing like a Wireshark on the network and trying to capture packets and look at things. It's a little bit more.
Okay.
Usually you can read more things, but these are like. These are like MAC addresses that are flying by and some of the code on the right. But the formatting looks exactly like a packet capture. That's interesting. So
got it. You just lost half our listener.
I know. Well, I guess I'm comparing it to you brought up the Matrix, and the Matrix is much more of a fantasy. This is actually trying to be realistic, but using kind of fantastical imagery to represent. And I think I'm just calling this one out as it kind of looks fantastical on its own, but it's actually kind of legit. And
yeah. Well, I was going to go back to the fact that I love the fact that the mom comes back into the room when they're talking and she goes, "Hey, just help yourself to anything in the refrigerator. Cyril already has." And I'm like, I so know that, dude. That was so many of my friends. So I thought that was really cool. We talked about the fantastical, and one of the, they talk about the server room, right? Where there's these great cuts where he's walking down the server room and these big glass cases and stuff like that, and the shock or the electricity is going up the sides of the towers and stuff, and then you get into the hacker and they're floating around those towers and stuff. To me, it's super fantastical because Yes, server rooms do not look anything like that. They do have big towers, but they're not made of glass. You won't see electricity. If you see electricity running up the side of the panel, get the fuck out the room, okay, right away, because that's bad. Also, those guys and it kind of makes sense because there's a time when Plague skateboards into the server room and he's wearing a big fur coat. That makes sense because if you're in a server room, that shit is kept as cold as possible because the heat levels of all the electric, current going through there creates heat, and they want to keep that down. So those rooms are usually kept in like the 40s and 50s, if I'm not mistaken.
Well.
Right? Or they run the AC to keep them low.
Yes, that's true. Our data center is, it's not a big, we run, about 150 servers and plenty of storage and stuff. But I mean, it's all in a compact environment and it's very temperature controlled. So if you took those things out of there, yeah, it'd probably be that cold. But when you have all the heat that's pumping out, you've got your hot aisle, you got your cool aisle and stuff, and it's all meant to kind of circulate.
Well, do they run like so?
So you walk into it, you don't feel cold because it's.
So I worked in an environment that was a temperature controlled, and we had what we call a false floor. Essentially, it was like a floor was built a foot off the ground, and the AC was actually ran underneath and up into the towers where our electronics. Ours was controlled to within two degrees. Like if it got above 71 degrees, the AC kicked on. If it got below 69 degrees, the heater kicked on because we were running with the oscillators that we had to keep a super close timing.
Yeah, this is more about airflow. We've got hot aisles and cool aisles, so the air is coming in from the outside, flowing in through the equipment, through the exhaust. The exhaust pumps it inside, and it goes out. We actually our data center has it's a false floor. But we used to, that's how it used to work. But now when we built the new one about 5 years ago, that all got sealed up, and it's all done through this. We've got lines of server racks, but it's all enclosed, so we have
airlines to them.
Yeah. So we've got like an interior aisle that you can go into, but you have to open it up, and that's where it's hot. That's where all that hot air is coming, and then it's flowing up through and into an exhaust and out. Okay. But it's the airflow that's a bigger deal. Yeah.
I just thought it was interesting that they took some realistic. There are server rooms with big towers and stuff like that, but they made them super fantastical. It's taking what was at the time 95. I mean, we were all just getting into computers. I mean, people, this actually made me rethink my whole email situation because some people were laughing about the dial up and the tone and stuff like that, and it was like, oh yeah, that's all AOL, and they were like, oh yeah, people still have AOL, and I was like, oh shit, I got an AOL email.
Well, this was before AOL, because that was I mentioned Windows 95.
Was it?
Windows 95 is what kind of I mean, there were the Apple computers. They were running, OS 8, or you saw them working off an Apple.
I think I had an AOL.
Oh my gosh, I was talking to my wife about the movie, and I mentioned GUI versus command line, and she laughed. She laughed when I said GUI. Yeah, and I'm like, I mean, I've worked with GUIs for, decades and stuff. And it's like, you haven't heard me say GUI before? So I had to kind of explain graphical user interface.
Now when you're talking about like computers.
I know. But they did have the Apple OS 8, I think is what the version was of the GUI that represented that they worked in. But this was probably Windows 3.1 was around, but before Windows 95, which really kind of took over the personal computer world as far as having a personal computer that you could have a.
Well, I know because I got married
interface.
in '94, and I had a computer and an AOL account before '95.
What kind of computer did you have?
Fuck, I don't remember. A big ass fucking.
No, I mean, was it running Windows?
Yeah, it was running Windows. I never had an Apple or anything like that.
So Windows came out. Well, then maybe it was Windows 3.1, which was kind of.
Yeah, I think I did.
It was like a blue screen with kind of these boxes that came out. Okay, yeah.
Well, I had it when I was in the Coast Guard when I was stationed in Middletown, and I got out in '95.
But AOL, I don't know if AOL.
Yeah, so that's what I had.
Because I had dial-up. I had dial-up back in the 80s. That's all
I've ever had.
Back in the 80s, but it was just you call the bank and you dial into the. That's how
I know, but I had AOL dial-up in '95.
Okay.
Because
Well, 95, yeah. I would agree with 95.
That's what I mean. I was saying about when this came out in '95. People were getting on the internet. I remember my buddy Rob, who shout out to Rob if you're listening to this. Was the first person I ever saw get online. He was the closest thing I ever knew to a real hacker. Not that he ever really hacked, but he had the dial-up system where we actually took the handset from his corded phone and put it on a hard piece of plastic so it could hear the tones, and we got onto like a message board.
Sure.
Right? And that's literally all it was just two big blocks with like messages, and it was like, and granted, exactly what you expect to find in a message board. This was probably in 91, because I think it was right after we got out of high school.
Yeah.
And sure enough, first thing you find out there is those are dirty motherfuckers in there just like wanting to talk about sex and shit. I was like,
sure. And when it became much more graphical, I remember graphical user interfaces, but I remember in getting our first computer. I think it was 96 that we got our first Windows computer. I had compact, computer with the dual floppies, the dual 3 1/4 inch floppies that you boot off of one and you save onto another, and you flip them around, and but it was all command line. But I remember getting it, and the first time we got a dial-up, I was telling Cindy, I said, you remember, I was kind of looking up naughty pictures on the internet, and how it just slowly kind of worked its way from the top, and like if you come back in 15 minutes, you might get
exactly. And I would get so mad because something would happen, and it would be like right before the good shit, and you're like, why would you stop there?
It's so weird.
Actually, what I remember most is, and this is when I was still in the Coast Guard, we would go to the computer big events at the fairgrounds, and they would, I remember buying my first like meg hard drive or something like that, but it was always it was, I want to say CDs were starting by then, because I remember you could get a CD with just like 800 pictures of whatever, and you'd go through and like, man, some of these are really bad. You're like, what the fuck? But the supercomputer shows, and go into those and buy a new memory, and by the time you even got out of the fucking the store, or out of the thing, got home, it was already fucking outdated. Like if you bought it, it was outdated by the time you paid for it, kind of thing. You couldn't keep up with the technology role. But yeah, but I have the same AOL original email I had from early 90s that I still have today. And I was like, yeah, I should probably update that. But it was also funny because they were talking about, everybody had their hacker names, and, and people that are getting into their, adult years where they go into a bank and they have to give them their email, that they have, Juicy Kitty 45, and you're like, what the hell?
When Google first released Gmail, I got a notification from a friend. She said, you should jump on this quick before all the good names are taken up. And so like the day that Gmail was released, I went in and got a name, and so my email is chapman.steve@gmail.com. And it's just like, yeah, you can't get anything like that these days. It's just like,
no, you got to
throw
a number on it.
Throw a number, and even most numbers are, I think when we were trying to get an email for HWSI, that became chore. You'd think HWSI on its own would be fine, but no, it's
we had to do I get it. Exactly. I thought I had a pretty unique name, right? I thought I had a pretty Noah Overton's. I don't think there's a lot of Overtons out there. I don't think there's a lot of Noahs out there, but there is literally probably at least 20 Noah Overtons. I'm like, how in the fuck are you gonna steal my name, you son of a bitches? But yeah, I do need to probably update to a more professional email name.
I did Chapman.Steve just because I thought that sounded a little bit more professional. Put my last name first. I don't know why. Yeah. I don't think I even tried to do Steve Chapman, but that's about as general of a name as you get. And so the only reason I got it was because it was, on day one.
Yeah, no, I get you. Like I said, I've had mine for a long time, and most of the time when I have to tell people what it is, they look at me like, what the fuck does that even mean? Because it was when I was into hockey, and I was a goalie, so it's puck stopper. but it's not even puck stopper spelled out. So, but yeah.
Right.
Anyhow, this is a fun movie. I super enjoyed this movie. I didn't actually remember how much I enjoyed it until watching it again, because it's been a while since I watched it. But I do, as soon as I saw this, when I was looking up what we are going to do this month for our throwback, as soon as I saw this, I was like, oh yeah, we got to do that.
So when I thought about this movie, I didn't expect you to come with glowing reviews the way you are. Do you think, I mean, what is it do you think that really elevates this movie in your mind? Or what are the things about it that really elevate it? Because I look at it and I hear what you're saying, but knowing you, I don't necessarily equate this. I mean, sure, it's got
so this is a nostalgia.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's just bonus stuff.
Okay.
This is a nostalgia type movie because I saw it back in '95 several times.
Yeah.
I got into it then. The rollerblading thing, I tried. I got into rollerblading a little bit so I could play hockey.
I got a take on it. It's because it's kind of a gang of misfits that are doing something around town, and you always talked about kind of that nostalgic feel of you with your buddies, kind of getting into trouble growing up. I bet. Okay,
it is
sure. Yeah.
It's some of that. It's also my love of cyberpunk and Shadowrun world and hackers being part of that and flying around in the internet and that just there's something about and I think Matthew Lillard's character just I laugh so much. Is like, man, he reminds me of some of my friends in a way, in just the weirdness and the goofiness that he's okay being himself. He's just out there but and they're there for their friends. They're 100% got their back. You got guys like Joey, the buddy you pull along because he's still new and you're getting him there. The skateboard part of it. There's just so much little shit in this. Angelina Jolie's boobs, is a huge part too. And I don't know why I remember that so much because it's such a small part of it. But it's one of those is like, oh yeah, that's the first time you see her boobs. I don't know why I enjoyed this so much. I think the music too, at the time, 94, 95, I was really heavily into kind of that new wave punk, techno music. And this has a lot of that kind of feel to it in the background. And I don't know exactly what really drives me to enjoy this so much, but I really do.
Matthew Lillard is going to be out in Scream 7 in February. So with Nev Campbell and Courtney Cox, it's got some of the same returning cast, although
I was never into those movies. I watched. I think I
liked
only
the
watched
first one.
the first.
I really liked the first one.
The first one was good because but I was one of those. It was never enough to really get me deep into them. I think he was in the second one too as Guy at Party. But if you've seen the first one, you know that his character doesn't make it, does he? He doesn't make it. So I think, I don't think so.
No. I would say spoilers. It's an old enough movie where, because it actually came out. It's actually 29. Maybe we'll cover it next year on our 30-year throwback. For that month. But yeah, that's kind of a spoiler if we find out what happened with him. So
he's got so many. I'm looking at. He's like so many things. Just tons of little things. But yeah, Scream was one of the big things he was in. He is such a perfect Shaggy that it's like there's just no one else that can do that.
You're right. He really nailed that role.
Yeah, it's so good. And I mean, he's been in a ton of stuff, and I'm looking at it. None of it's big stuff, but 13 Ghosts, I guess I've heard a lot of people talk about 13 Ghosts as something that he was in that he was really good at and pretty big.
What? You broke up. You're broken up. I'm going to pause it. We're recording again because we have you back.
Yeah, I was going to say, so Matthew Lillard, he's been in a lot of stuff. One of the things I just noticed he was in that, if you've ever get a chance to watch it, that's a really cool show called Leverage. He's in one episode of that. I mean, not that that's a big thing with him, but just it's a cool show that I saw he was in. House. He's got so many fucking things that he's done. He's got like 171 credits, so good on him. He was fun in this. A lot of people were fun in this. I just find it very fun. I can see why it could not be a good movie to others, but for me, this was cool. It's very, very fun and interesting.
I don't remember him in Born Again, but it looks like he's got a role. Maybe it's in season 2 of Born Again Daredevil. So.
Oh, interesting. We'll have to look at that. I did see that. Yeah, I would have to find out what that is. All right. Well, join us next week. We're gonna tackle season 2 of Wednesday, which is out now on Netflix. We did season 1. Really enjoyed that. I was really excited about it coming back. Not disappointed at all. I've watched it already. I'm really excited to talk about that because it's got some really cool stuff. It looks like it's one of those things that it could go, if they keep writing the way they are, they could keep it up. Like, as long as they keep writing good stories, I think they could keep this going. It's a lot of fun.
They got to keep the cast because they certainly have some.
Oh, the cast makes it for sure.
Yeah, but that means that they've got to invite them back, and they have to accept, which means it's got to be a little bit more lucrative the more they do it, because some of those characters are.
Steve Buscemi is in this.
Oh yeah, I saw him in a promo for it.
I love
like
that guy.
The new principal or something like that, or the new.
Yep.
Okay.
I just love that guy like, when they talk about like actors you would like to meet in person, he is one of those guys. I would love to just have an hour-long conversation with that dude. There's stuff about him that is just so cool, and we'll talk about that next week when we get into to Wednesday season 2.
Okay, I'll prep for that.
Yeah, Steve Buscemi is just a great guy. Great show, a lot of fun. And then we're gonna hit into October, and everybody that's been following us knows what October means for us, and that's spooky month. It's scare the shit out of Noah month with our friend Alicia, or like we like to call it, HWSI with boobs. And we got 5 weeks this year, so we're gonna get into some really good movies. We're gonna get some fun stuff, and so we'll have a list out for you guys soon, so that you can follow along and hopefully be able to watch those before we cover them, and then we don't have to spoil anything for you.
That's right.
So that's us for another couple weeks, and with that, all I can say is, if I didn't have a strict code of honor, I might take advantage of this situation. Erotically, that is.
Hail Caesars.
What does that mean?
Look at that pooper.